Hi everyone. Good to see you on my channel today. Today I will tell you a wonderful story. It is full of love and kindness. I hope you enjoy it and I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. Thank you.
Selena lived and did not know what to do now alone. No money, what to do. She could call her mother in the village, but she didn't want to do that. It turns out that she would complain. She would feel sorry and come. And even worse, we'll call her to her, the girl did not want to sit on one's neck. Selena, hurry up, have breakfast, and get ready for school, her mother called her in the morning. Already running, often did not have time for the girl. She and her mother lived in the village. The settlement was not small. There was everything you need. Of course, like all other children, the girl wanted to live in the city, but her mother did not agree to move there. Look, we have chickens, ducks, pigs, vegetable garden, all our own, and in the city what? She always told her daughter. And there is civilization, and it can all be bought in the store. Selena at that time was 13 years old. And Kukoki we where will take. Smiled and asked Dobbs Koba mother. Here I will finish school, and I will definitely go to live in the city, stubbornly stated her daughter. It will be seen. And now come on. Hurry up, or you'll be late again, hurried the woman. Selena liked school. She had a lot of friends there. She understood the material. She liked Mickey, but he didn't pay attention to her. There was Veronica, whose father was the head of the class, and everyone ran after her, including Mickey. Once Selena's roommate got sick, she came to school. She had a test today. She had to sit alone. Can I join you? She heard a question. Looked up. Mickey was standing in front of her. She decided not to show that she liked him. You're sitting closer to the board, and I hope to write it off. The guy didn't hide it. Good, sit down, she clapped her hands inside. The guy sat down. He knew that the girl understood everything, and her grades were good. So he hoped that today he would do well. Let me write it off, he whispered to her. Look, she didn't feel sorry for him. But everyone had turned in their worksheets, he thanked Selena. They were in 7th grade, and summer vacation was only a few days away. What are you going to do this summer? The boy asked her. Why do you want to know? She smiled back at him. I was just wondering if you were going somewhere, he shrugged. No, I think I'll be here all vacation, she liked the way he looked at her. After they got their annual grades, they went on vacation. But there was no rest in the village, the farm. The vegetable garden took up a lot of time. Selena couldn't leave her mother alone, so she helped her with everything. Shall we go for a walk? Mickey came over at the end of summer. I don't know, I still have so much to do. The girl looked around and saw her mother needing food for the pigs. What are you saying? You've been sitting here all summer. Go and get some air, the woman told her. You see, even your mom is telling you to go. The guy was still standing here. Okay, wait a bit. She was shaking with excitement. The girl ran into the house, quickly washed her face, changed her clothes, and was ready to go. You look great. Mickey gave her some sort of compliment. Thanks. Where are we going? She was wondering. I think to an abandoned boatyard. He turned to her. What are we going to do there? The girl knew there was nothing there, a decrepit pier and a boarded-up hut. Don't you wonder what's there? He asked. No, we as kids had climbed up and down there, she admitted to him honestly. Then I don't know, he stopped. Come on, I'll show you something. Selena took his hand and blushed. I wonder what it is. We've lived here all our lives. What can you surprise me with? Mickey followed the girl. They reached the building where the office was located. They walked around it. There was a road. They followed it. Did you walk here? She looked at the guy. I took the bus with my parents. Yes, but on foot. Why? He didn't understand where they were going. You see, and you said that there was nothing to surprise you, she laughed. You can't surprise anyone with a simple road, he smirked. Wait a bit. They walked to where the pigsties used to be, and then behind them. What are those? Mickey saw big semicircular buildings. He had seen them before from a distance, but never this close. Come on, she tugged at him. They came to one, walked along an iron wall, and then Selena lifted a metal plate. "Over there," showed Mickey inside. "Yeah, hurry up, it's heavy," she rushed him. The boy climbed in and helped her hold it up. Now they were inside together. "Wow," Mickey turned around, waited for his eyes to adjust to the gloom. "Yeah, my dad used to work here," the girl told him. "Wow, I didn't know." He walked over and raised his hand to touch the propeller. There was a Cornhusker airplane here. "Give me your hand," she beckoned him after her again. What else? Now he was ready. Selena really did surprise him. "Come on, don't be afraid." She looked back and waved at him. "I'm not afraid," he followed her confidently. The girl climbed up the stepladder and from there got into the cabin. The boy followed her. He was shocked at what they were doing now. "Do you come here often?" he asked. "I do," she said reluctantly. "Cool." He stretched out, Mickey touching the buttons, the levers. "When my father was alive, he used to pilot this airplane. I used to come to this hangar a lot, saw him fiddling with that thing." She tapped the iron. "I didn't know, I'm sorry." He lowered his head. "No, it's okay." She touched his shoulder. "Yeah, this isn't an abandoned boatyard." Mickey laughed and took the wheel. He imagined he and Selena would be flying somewhere right now. They had spent the whole day here today, talking, laughing. When it was evening, the boys got ready to go home. "You're extraordinary," Mickey told her as they walked back to her house. She realized that she and Mickey were friends now. "Shall we go for a walk tomorrow?" He stopped and turned to her. "Okay, just don't come early. I need to help my mom." She stepped around him and walked on. "You want me to come and help?" He caught up with her. "I want to." The girl didn't refuse to help. Then it was a deal. Mickey walked Selena home and went to his own place. He was overwhelmed with emotion. Today was the first time he'd seen an airplane up close, sat in the cockpit. Selena was not only pretty, but interesting. He realized that he not only wanted to be friends with her, but a little more. The guy woke up. He looked at the clock. It was 7 in the morning. He got out of bed, went out to the yard, and asked his mother if she needed help. He needed to draw water for the bath. He did so, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, he was at Selena's gate, knocking. "Why are you so early?" The girl's mother opened the door. "I offered Selena to help you yesterday, so I came." He did not cheat. "Ah, well, if so, then come in. The daughter is still washing up," the woman smiled. She had wondered today why Selena was taking so long to get ready. Now it all made sense. Mickey was young, but he knew and could do everything. First he brought water and cleaned up the pigs while Selena fed the birds. After that he offered to do something in the vegetable garden. They all went there together. "Let's not go anywhere today. Make a fire, roast meat, make livers," Ariana suggested. "Why, that's an idea." Selena jumped to her feet and looked at Mickey. "I don't mind." He nodded his head. Now he brought some firewood, put it in a spot that was fenced off with bricks, set it on fire. Mom went into the house to cook something light. The young people were left alone. "Thank you." The girl was picking at the fire with a stick. "It's my pleasure." He got to his feet and walked over to her. "What about back home?" She looked at him. "I did what I was asked this morning. My father and brother are there, so they'll be fine." He picked up a stick, too. "You know, when we had a dad, nobody knew about work. You wake up, go out, feed the chickens, that's it. Also, what was needed. So sometimes we eat carrots, beets, or potatoes, and now," she stopped talking. "Don't be sad." He didn't want to see his friend sad. At that moment, Ariana came back. She had everything ready. She saw that the coals in the fire were ready too. Now all that was left was to bury the potatoes, which were already cooked, and to thread the meat on the skewers. Mom, thank you for this impromptu picnic. Thanked her daughter when they were already sitting at the table. Today I realized that sometimes you need to rest. The woman smiled. They sat until evening, and then Mickey and Selena decided to take a little walk. "Shall we go to the river?" Selena suggested it. "Why not? It's so nice outside. The water should be like milk." They ran down the road, overtaking each other. For the rest of the summer, Mickey and Selena were together. They became friends. They were like brother and sister. For the 1st of September, they went together too. Many people who were not in the village during the summer were surprised. The guy did not even think about where he would sit, unequivocally with Selina. During the school year, the guys didn't get to see each other often, but still, they chose the time, especially on weekends. At the end of the school year, he came to pick up Selina. "Oh, do you know, I probably can't make it tonight," she looked out the window. "I need to tell you something." He looked her straight in the eye. Good, something fell inside, the girl thought. Now Mickey is going to tell her he won't be friends with her anymore. She said a few words to her mother, threw a sweatshirt over herself, and walked out to the guy. She didn't look at him. Selina, he took her hands and took her a little to the side. What? Her ears were buzzing. She didn't want to hear those words. "I don't want to be like a brother to you anymore. Let's be friends," he said and looked at her. "Why?" asked Selina, because she had already gotten it all in her head. The girl heard the words, "I don't want to be friends either." "What, why?" "Because you are beautiful, funny, interesting. I love you," almost shouted Mickey. "I don't understand." Now she was puzzled. Don't want to be friends and love. Somehow it didn't fit together. Jesus, he leaned over and kissed her. "Mickey!" Selena started to look around to make sure no one saw them, or the next day everyone would know what they were doing here. Waiting for an answer, he hugged her. "I agree," she spoke into his chest. She was pleased with the way he smelled. "So it's decided from this day on, you and I are together. We'll finish school, get married. Go to the city. I promised you all this." The guy rejoiced. "Okay, bye." She stood on her toes and kissed him on the cheek. It was the summer, which the guys again spent wonderfully. Now they were no longer separated, everywhere were together. A new organizer came to the club. It started to hold interesting evenings, discos. Mickey and Selena didn't miss them. When the 9th grade was coming to an end, it was necessary to prepare for exams. The guy no longer wanted to study at school, but Selena was in contemplation. "Come on, why waste 2 years? Let's go to school," he urged her. I don't know, Forrest, she didn't want to part with him, but she didn't want to leave her mother either. In the evening, the girl decided to talk to her. "Why are you so sad?" Ariana asked her. "Mom, Mickey calls to enter the city after the 9th. She told her the truth about her mood." "And what do you think? Oh, I can manage here alone." She realized that it was better to let her go than to let her daughter accuse her of something. "Thank you." Her daughter rushed to her and hugged her. "I understand when young people are separated at such an age." Her mother pressed her against her. Selena told Mickey everything the next day. "That's great," he kissed her. The boys had passed all their exams and were now ready to go. Their parents were seeing them off, their moms were crying, and Mickey and Selena were rejoicing. They got into the same college, but in different faculties. They were given places in the dormitory. "Now we'll study for a year, and then we'll get an apartment," Mickey promised, and she believed him. All day long the boy spent in the room of his beloved. Her roommate only sighed, but had nothing against it. She understood that they were in love. "Samantha, maybe you'll move in with me?" asked the same neighbor, Archie, who lived with Mickey. "Why, maybe you two could form a couple too," laughed Selena. She was sitting on her boyfriend's lap. It was decided that so that the girlfriend would not have to go anywhere and not sit in the kitchen for a few hours while Mickey was at Selena's, she would go to Archie's. Now, if the boys met, it was just the 4 of them. "We would go to the village in the summer?" the young man asked Selena. Of course, even though they were home a lot, she still missed her mom. Okay, he agreed. All was well with the couple after a summer spent outdoors. The couple had moved back to the city. Mickey, as promised, found and rented an apartment. "We have a real family now," Selena rejoiced. Yes, he put his arms around her and pulled her to him. The girl did everything around the house. She liked it very much. After studying, they walked home together, went to the store. Then Selena cooked dinner. In winter, after New Year's vacation, the couple lay at home on the bed. "Do you think I could have gotten pregnant?" Selena asked Mickey. "You what?" He blew up. "Why are you so scared?" She got up too. It's early, we're young, we haven't been up yet, we haven't been married. He told her. You say that as if it was my fault. She pretended to be offended. Honey, he sat down with her and hugged her. He didn't want her to be angry with him. What? She jerked her shoulder. Can we have an abortion before it's too late? Mitty asked cautiously. You what? The girl made big eyes. Why not? I think we need to get on our feet first, and then have kids, he told her calmly. I'll go to my mom, Selena said confidently. It's still unknown. Maybe there's nothing. The young man tensed. He realized that the woman will dissuade her from abortion. When the girl checked everything, the pregnancy was confirmed, as she wanted, went to her mom. Why are you in the middle of the week? Ariana was surprised then. Mom hugged her daughter. What's wrong? She was frightened. I'm expecting a baby, cried Selena. Why are you crying? It's a joy, smiled her mother gently. Mickey wants me to have an abortion, the girl confessed then. What do you mean he loves you so much? The woman couldn't believe it. That's why I came to see you, Selena confessed. Don't dare, now you do it, then you won't give birth at all. Her mother was convinced. Selena stayed at home until the following week. When she drove back, she was convinced she was going into labor. Mickey wasn't expecting anything good when he met Selena. She told him she wasn't going to do anything, and he walked around for a week after that. Darling, why don't you want it so bad? She snuggled up to him at night. I don't know, he turned to the girl. I had other plans. What were they? Selena thought about it too. What can you do if it worked out that way? I thought we'd get married, then we'd go traveling, and then we'd have kids. But it didn't turn out that way. He closed his eyes. I love you and I believe that we'll be fine. The girl believed that. Mickey didn't answer or anything. Maybe he really fell asleep, or maybe he was just pretending. It was getting harder and harder to go to school. At the end of the school year, Selena wrote a statement that she was taking a leave of absence. Now she stayed at home while Mickey studied and worked part-time. He decided not to say anything to his parents yet. Selena went back to her mother. She was at ease here, in the house where she was born, and with the most dear person. But she didn't want to leave Mickey alone, so she came back quickly. What's that you're eating? They were sitting at the table. Selena was adding jam to the fried potatoes. It tastes so good. She scooped it up with a spoon and ate. Ew, I feel sick. The young man came out of the table. Beloved, why have you become like this? Selena could really see that his attitude towards her had changed. I do not know. Everything is normal. He was leaving the house now, in the morning to study, in the evening to friends. The girl was spending more and more time alone at home. It was time to give birth. At the last appointment, the doctor advised her to go to the hospital. And he was right. After 3 days, the girl in the room was not alone. Next to her was a small crib in which her daughter slept. Mickey never showed up. Hello. Selena walked out of the door of the maternity hospital and saw Mickey. She was so afraid he wouldn't come for her. Hello. He kissed his wife. He didn't even look at his daughter. Mickey, you won't even look at her. She was hurt. All right, let's go. He held the cab door open. Good they had arrived home. Nothing here was ready for her arrival. I've got to go somewhere. He didn't even take his shoes off. You'd have at least packed the crib, she rebuked him. Sorry, I got caught up. He left the apartment. Selena's mom came to Selena. The girl knew for sure that there would be no problems now. The woman would help her with everything. Where's Mickey? Ariana asked then. He became not the same as he was before, the girl admitted. Nothing. Everything will get better. Her mother believed in it. She spent all day showing and telling what to do with a small child. You daughter, I'm sorry, but I have to leave. The household is watching the neighbor. But for a long time, she will not be enough, said the mother, Selena. Yes, of course, the young mother was confident in her abilities. Now she was alone with her daughter in her arms. Aurora, though, was a quiet and calm girl, but still she needed an eye to eye. Selena could not keep up with everything. And even though Mickey was also in the apartment, he continued to study, then work. but it was as if he wasn't really with them. When Aurora started crying at night, he would get very nervous. "Selena," and he'd calm her down. "I have to go to school tomorrow morning," he told the girl. "Sweetheart, but when you are in pain, you make some sounds, crying or moaning, so she may have a tummy ache or something," she explained to him. "Well, make it not hurt," he told her irritably. Selena realized that their relationship was coming to an end, but when it would come, she didn't know. With a year of sabbatical leave, which she took, the girl made a willful decision and did not go back to study. "You're crazy. Education is everything nowadays," Mitty told her. "Petticat, Mitty will get married. We've been living together for so many years. We have a grown-up daughter. Why don't you want to?" She told him in response to the wrong topic. "What do you translate from one to another? If I want to take you as my wife, you will be the first to know about it," he told her. But another year passed, nothing happened. But after Mickey went to his high school graduation, he got a summons. "What does that mean?" Selena looked at him. "Like what? While I was in school I had a deferment, and now I have to join the army or go further," he explained to her. No, that wasn't the answer she was expecting from him. "And I've decided I'm going to go. I can't run for long anyway," he parried her. Selena sighed heavily and went into the other room, sat down with her daughter and began to tell her a story. Everyone was going to go to the village now, because that was where Mickey was to be picked up from. His mother, when she saw Selena with the little child, was very surprised. In all the time Aurora had been there, she had never once come to visit them. Mickey had never said anything to her, and indeed Selena had very seldom been to her mother's house in the village. "Why didn't you tell me about such a serious event in your family?" Sarah stood in the yard of her house and wondered. "I don't know why your son didn't bother to notify you. I thought you knew. You don't just show up, react to the child the same way he did." Selena was in no mood to talk right now. "Come here, little one. I'm your grandmother." The woman squatted down and held out her arms to Aurora. The woman came up to her, smiling, babbling something. After that, everyone began to prepare for the many guests that would be arriving in the evening. Almost the whole village was invited. "Mickey, I have a feeling you're going to leave now and never come back," Selena told him. "What do you mean I'm not going to war?" And he turned to her. "No, that's not what I mean. You're not coming back to me," she said with long pauses. "Oh, what are you talking about? Why shouldn't I come back to you?" He wrinkled his nose. He wanted to talk to his friends, not Selena. Everything went well. The next day Mickey left. Selena stayed at her mother's for a while and drove back to where all of her things were her whole life. She wanted to live out the time they had on their rent first, and then go to her mother's place. She would be easier with her anyway, but then the girl decided that she would be a burden to the woman. Even if she didn't have to ask for anything, her mother would feel guilty if she didn't do something for her daughter and granddaughter. Therefore, when Ariana called her, she said that everything was fine. Her daughter would soon have a place in kindergarten, and she would get a job. But this was all, of course, just so the mother wouldn't worry. If she had known when she drove here with Mickey that it would be like this, she might not have acted the way she did now. Selena didn't have any education, and there was no way to get one. You could say either. If she went by correspondence, she needed money, and she couldn't do it full-time. She had a small child, and she had to work somewhere, but no one would take a girl without education. She tried to get a job in technical and something else, but it was enough for a while, and then something happened. While there was no place in the kindergarten, Selena left Aurora with a neighbor. It was good that there was a good woman. She would come straight to their house, and there she would sit with the girl. But still, soon the kindergarten was allocated, and now Selena had one more thing to do in the morning. She took her daughter to kindergarten, then ran to her own business, and in the evening picked up her daughter. Time was disastrously short, but she knew that if she didn't do it, no one else would. One evening, Selena was so exhausted that she went to her neighbor's house again and asked her to babysit Aurora. "Where are you going?" The neighbor asked her. "Can I tell you the truth?" Selena exhaled. "Sure, and before that you lied to me." She laughed. No, it's just not talked about very often, but I'm so tired of everything. I just want to go to my friend's house and sit with her. Maybe have a few drinks, talk, relax. You'd see how tired she was. It was understandable. She had to pay for the apartment. She had to pay for the daycare center. She couldn't get a normal job. She had to get a part-time job where they paid pennies. They had already called her friend and she was waiting for her at her house. Selena quickly got to her, and indeed, Cecilia had already set the table and was waiting for her visit. Well, tell me, what's the matter? She said. One thing for one, Selena told her. What was it? She wanted details. Mickey, who once said he loved me and would stand up for me everywhere, dumped me. She started to say, but her friend interrupted her. What do you mean? You said he went into the army. She was very surprised. Yes, he did, but he's here now. She just heard it from her mother. Mickey served and came back, but he didn't go to her. He went to his mother's house in the village. And when Ariana met him, he just turned away and walked past her. Selena blinked, the tear rolling out of her eye. That's not the way to do it. That's why he didn't marry you, because he didn't want to get in trouble, Cecilia concluded. I'm now living in the same rented apartment where Mickey and I live, so I can pay for it. I'm going wherever I can, grabbing any job I can, Selena complained. What kind of job are you looking for? Cecilia looked at her. I don't have anything. No education, no experience, no experience, no experience. So, all in small things saddened the girl. I have a friend who works in an agency that selects nannies, caregivers, and everything else. Of course, they don't pay much, but I could make a deal, the girl told her. Listen, you'll help me a lot with this. If I have a permanent job, I will find a part-time job. The guest told her that she did not believe that it could work out. Of course, I will call her tomorrow and ask about you. Cecilia raised her glass to drink to that. The girls sat for a while and then Selena went home. She was walking and realized that she missed her daughter, whom they'd practically never parted with when Selena was not at work. Here I am. She entered the apartment. Everyone rejoiced, after which they sat down at the table and drank tea. The neighbor went home. In the morning, when Selena took her daughter to kindergarten, she sat at the table, drinking coffee. A phone call rang. Friend, hello, it's Cecilia, said quickly into the phone. Yes, I'm listening to you. Selena waited to hear what she had to say. Anyway, I've arranged it. You can come there today. Cecilia was glad to be able to help. Selena's heart raced. Would she really be hired now, and would she succeed? She arrived. It was indeed a small agency. The boss was a woman. She said that they had clients who wanted to find a nanny, a caregiver, a housekeeper. But it's all for people with disabilities, the boss explained to her at the time. Okay, I agree. Selena didn't mind. Then I suggest you take this woman. She put a folder in front of Selena. There was a picture of an elderly woman. Julia, Selena read the cover. Yes, this is one of our pensioners. She is not disabled, but she is very old and needs help, the woman explained to her. Okay, I agree to any job. The girl took the folder and wanted to leave the office. Wait, the woman behind the desk laughed after her. What else? The one who came to get a job didn't understand her. Let's write an application. You give me all the documents. So far, she was smiling. Yes, sorry, I forgot about everything in the joy. Selena put everything on the table, wrote a statement, and then decided to walk to this very grandmother today. It was so exciting, but the girl did everything the right way. She found the right address, entered the entrance, went up to the floor, knocked on the apartment. Who are you? A very old woman opened the door, or maybe she just looked that way. Hello, my name is Selena. From today I will take care of you. Go grocery shopping. Mop the floors and everything else, the girl said in a friendly manner. I don't need any caregivers. She wanted to close the door, but her new assistant didn't let her. Julia, don't jump to conclusions. You and I will be friends again, Selena told her. She wasn't the least bit mad at this grandmother. Okay, come on in, she grumbled and staggered down the hall to the kitchen table. Let me make some tea myself, she said, to show her that she wasn't as small-minded as she looked. "What's the matter? In my house someone will make tea for me. I'm capable of making it myself," grumbled the grandmother to herself. Selena realized that this was one of those people who were always dissatisfied with everything. The conversation between them didn't go well today, so the next day Selena took Aurora to the daycare center, bought groceries, and went straight to Julia's house. She saw that she was sitting by the window, probably waiting for her, but when Selena rang the doorbell, she opened it quickly, as if she wasn't expected. "Greetings," Selena smiled again, showing her grandmother the packages. "What, you're here again?" She couldn't believe it. "Why can't I?" Selena answered her and laughed. "Okay, girl, come on in. I see that you are impenetrable." Today they were sitting at the table, and it turned out that Julia was not really as evil as she wanted to show herself originally. She just wanted to test everyone who came to her. And a lot of people didn't pass that test. From then on, Julia opened up to Selena. She was so kind that she let the girl come to her with her daughter. "I feel so good with you, as if you bred youth into my home," she often said. Once the helper came to her grandmother, she had prepared dinner, and now they were sitting at the table. The doorbell rang. "Who is it?" Selena looked at the woman. "I don't know," she shrugged. Hauso got up from her seat and went to open the girl. On the threshold stood a young man in a military uniform. "Hello, who are you here to see?" The assistant looked at him. "To my grandmother's." He looked over Selena's shoulder. "Julia? Julia?" Yes, he realized it was a housekeeper or just a social worker. Please, the girl was so angry that her fists even clenched. She thought that this woman had no one, so she lived alone. Here, a whole grandson, perhaps he has parents. Grandma came into the kitchen. Oleshka, it seemed that she was about to have a stroke. She was so happy. "I'll go," Selena said from the hallway. No, stay. I'll introduce you now." The woman did not let her go. "Okay, just for you." The girl returned to the kitchen. She offered the guest something to eat. He refused. "Here, Selena, meet my grandson, John." She clung to him and cried. "It's a pleasure," Selena answered him politely. "Bah, how are you?" The man spoke to Julia. "Oh, I'm fine. You see what fine workers they send me," she pointed at Selena. Selena was standing with her back to them, doing the dishes, and she was cursing John. She was so angry with him that she didn't understand why she was so emotional. She thought that if she stayed here a little longer, she might say something. "Can I walk you out?" John stood up and walked over to her. No, she didn't look at him. "Oh, come on, girl, let him walk her," Julia urged her. "All right, just for you." She said the last words as she turned away to the door. They walked out of the driveway, Selena walking in silence. "Why are you angry with me?" the man asked her. "Why would you think that?" She didn't turn around. "It's hard not to," he grinned. "Okay, yes, indeed, I am angry with you. You saw the state of your grandmother. Why did you abandon her?" Now she stopped and looked him straight in the eyes. "That's just your opinion. I'm in the service. I'm transferred from unit to unit, so I can't always be here," he excused himself. "And your parents?" They were still standing. "They are gone. I was brought up by my grandmother in the last grade. She gave me to the college. And from there, I already continued my own career in the military," he told her. Selena was silent for a while, then she walked along the sidewalk, thinking to herself whether he was telling the truth or not. Further, they walked in silence, even though John had justified himself. She was still angry that they had thrown the old woman to her fate. "Goodbye," she said goodbye to him without turning around and walked into the entryway. "See you soon," sighed John and walked back. When Selena arrived the next day, the man was gone. "Where is your grandson?" she asked the woman. "He's away. He's very busy. He comes to visit sometimes," she answered. "I knew it," she said quietly to herself. She continued to work for Julia, but not for long. One morning, she and Aurora were going to her grandmother's house. It was a day off. The mood was good. Suddenly, a neighbor came to them. "Oh, where are you going?" she asked. "We wanted to go for a walk," Selena replied. "What a pity. and I was thinking of taking Aurora to the park. I was just going there," said the woman sadly. Good did not prevent her mother. Better in the park than at the old woman's house. She went alone to her ward. The girl knocked, but no one opened the door. Then Selina inserted her key into the keyhole. Entered the apartment, and Julia was lying on the bed, as if sleeping, but the assistant realized that it was far from a dream. She called her office and also the ambulance. "So much for huffing and puffing," said one of the women who came running when she saw the ambulance with the paramedics. Selena started looking for John's cell phone. When she found it, she didn't hesitate to dial it. "Hello, John. Hello." Anger was rising in her throat again. "Yes, I'm listening. Who is this?" He was waiting for an answer. "This is Selena, your grandmother's assistant," she said, keeping her emotions in check. "Ah, yes, I remember." His voice softened. "She's gone. Can you come over?" Not wanting to talk to this man anymore, she pressed reset. After the funeral, the girl would return home and realize that she had no work again. She planned to go to the agency again the next day in case there was a similar mentee. "I'm here to see you again," she entered the office. "Yes, I'm waiting for you. I already know what happened. It's a pity." The woman looked out the window. "Is there anything for me?" Selena asked. "I think so, as long as you are willing to do it. The boss was going through the papers." "Of course, I'm ready for anything." Selena even stood up. Sobe looked young-eyed, wheelchair user, red, and raised her eyes to the girl, the woman. "I agree." The girl thought that he can't live alone. There is someone with him anyway, so she will get acquainted today. "Good, then, here you go." The boss gave her the documents. While there was free time, Selena went to the address that was given. It turned out to be far away. She had to call a cab. When she arrived, she saw a nice house. She was surprised. She rang the gate. It was opened. She was escorted inside. "Good afternoon." She stood in the empty hallway. "Hello, and you must be our new nurse." A woman came out to her. Yes, Selena nodded. She felt kind of uncomfortable. "My name is Emma." The hostess held out her hand. "Selena." She shook it. "My husband will be here in a moment." She looked up. A few minutes later, a man came down from upstairs. They met. His name was Ivan. After that, Selena was interrogated. Where she studied, how old she was, her marital status, and everything like that. It was not clear why they were doing all this. "Okay, that's fine with me," nodded the host. "Jacob, Jacob," the woman called out. "What?" I could hear that the boy was not happy to have guests. A guy in a wheelchair came out to them. "Meet your new caregiver, Selena." The mother pointed at the girl. "Yeah," the guy replied indifferently. "So, Selena, my husband works in the city. He has a big firm, so we can't stay here all the time. If you need something urgently, you can call. But we come almost every evening," explained the hostess. "Understood," the girl nodded. "Do you realize that you will have to live here? Accordingly, the salary will be higher," Evans said. Okay, Selena began to think how to arrange with the neighbor to babysit her daughter, and then maybe they will allow to bring her here. "That's it then. You can stay and get acquainted. We will spend the day here today, and tomorrow we will have to leave," Emma said. Okay, she was shown to her room. She went there. She had to call her neighbor. They agreed that she would stay with the girl for a few days, and if she refused, the mother would have to come up with something. Of course, no one refused her, but Selena knew that in case of emergency, she had a mother, and the little girl could be sent to the village for the summer. She changed her clothes and went to her new ward to get to know her better. Hi, she walked into his room. "What do you want?" He sounded a little abrupt, but Selena knew that disabled people don't want to be pitied, so they sometimes act aggressively. "I came to get to know you better." She walked around and sat on the couch in front of him. "I don't want to." He turned away from her. "Okay, what are your hobbies?" She started asking him questions, trying to get him to dialogue. "Sitting," he scoffed. "Yeah, I can see that, but you can do a lot of things in that state too." She put her hand on his knee. "Look, come on if I feel like talking. I'll be sure to find you and tell you everything." He looked at her. You think it's hard for you alone? Here I was, I had to be alone with my daughter. I'm in a foreign city, I have no education. The child's father abandoned us, does not even want to know. And I did not give up, although it was possible to go to his mother in the village and live there quietly, but hold on. But very difficult, but nevertheless with anger, she told him. And why did you tell me all this? Did not understand the guy. And then, so that you do not sit here and do not feel sorry for yourself, look, you have everything. She circled the room with her hand. So what? He smirked. And nothing. Hire a specialist. Start practicing and you will succeed, she crackily shouted. Come on, go about your business, make me some coffee, I'm tired. He brushed her off like a fly. Okay, I will, she left the room. Selena, how do you like our son? And I liked her right away, until she realized she couldn't find where the mugs were. Don't pay attention to his attitude, he's actually nice. The woman showed her where the dishes were. Good, Selena thought, what mother would say bad things about her child? She made coffee and carried it to Jacob's room. He was still sitting there as well. She tried to speak to him again, but the young man was silent. Then Selena thought she didn't need to pester him, and just left the room. Sweetie, you go to your room and mind your own business for now. Anna told her. How will I know if Jacob needs help, she thought, because he's not going to yell at the whole house for her to come to him. It has a button, you'll hear a signal, the woman explained. Everything was clear. The girl went to her room, made the bed so that she wouldn't have to do it later. Looked around, there were some books. She took one of them and started reading. After an hour she was called to dinner. That was good because she hadn't eaten anything since this morning. Selena, we're leaving early tomorrow morning, so you'll be ready to run all of Jacob's errands, Emma said. Yes, of course. She was afraid to look up because Ivan was sitting at the table with a stern look in his eyes. It seemed to her that it was all because she was sitting at the table with them. Relax, it's okay, the woman told her in a friendly manner. And who cooks for you? The girl didn't see anyone else here except those at the table. Hope, but she comes early in the morning, does everything, and then it remains only to reheat. I'll show you, the hostess promised her. Thank you. Selena ate everything quickly, apologized, and went to her room. Good girl, she heard Emma say after her. In the morning, the girl woke up. The first thing she did was go to the kitchen. She made coffee and took it to Jacob's room. She saw that he was still in bed sleeping. The girl set the cup on the table. She quietly walked out. Today, she met the same Hope who cooks there. They met, talked. Be careful, the cook told her last. What could happen? Selena wondered. Just a word of warning, she trailed off. The girl saw that there was breakfast on the table, went to wake Jacob. Good morning, she peeked into his room. Get out of here, he said sharply. Let's go get some breakfast, and then you can go back to bed. She remembered that her mother had told her that sometimes when she was a child. Go and have breakfast yourself, I don't want to. You didn't even turn around. Selena didn't argue. She went to the table, ate her porridge, drank her coffee, then decided to wash the dishes. She went into the kitchen, where there was a lot of stuff. She didn't close the door on purpose, so that if Jacob came out, he wouldn't think anything of it. Pa, hi, or we're still on for today. She heard Jacob talking on the phone, thinking no one could hear him. What's he up to? She asked herself. Okay, I'll see you at 8, he said quietly, apparently listening for an answer. No, they won't be here until morning. That's for sure. He must have been talking about his parents. Selena didn't leave the kitchen while Jacob was in the room. She didn't want anyone to think she was eavesdropping. She waited until the young man was doing something, and then she came out and walked quickly to her room. She stayed outside for a minute, and then opened the door as if she'd been there. Jacob, why don't we take a walk in the yard? She asked him. No, we're having guests tonight, he told her. Okay, what do we need for that? She looked at him as if it was the first time she'd heard of it. Cook or heat something and get alcohol, he commanded. The girl listened attentively. She did not dare to argue. She thought that at least this way he would be distracted from his illness. She had been cooking all day and Jacob was in the room. Let's go to lunch. Selena knocked on his door. I'll be right there, he said. They sat at the table silent. The girl wanted to start a conversation, but she didn't know what kind and about what. Who was coming to see you today? She asked. Friends. It was obvious that he did not want to talk. Okay, she thought, what would she do here if they were going to have fun? After dinner, Celine put the dishes away, washed them again, then went to her room and started reading. The guests started to flock in before 8, but that didn't surprise anyone. They came into the house and took what they wanted from the table. After they opened bottles of alcohol, the girl was shocked at how they behaved. Here's to us, guys, to us. Jacob raised his glass. Selena looked at all of this. She realized he wasn't allowed to, but how to say it in front of everyone. She decided to wait a bit, and when he was alone, to approach him. People kept arriving. They acted as if they lived in the house. After about 3 hours, the whole company was already drunk. Someone bumped into a table. The plate fell, shattered. Another dropped a bottle, which also shattered. Selena thought she would have to clean it up later when it all calmed down. By the time it was around midnight, she decided to go out after all. Jacob, you can't drink, she said in his ear. What, you guys? This pauper says I can't drink. Ha 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 ha. He got his friend's attention. What do you think you're doing? The girl blushed. My folks pay you to take care of me, and you do nothing but sit in your room, he spoke loudly. I won't stand for this. Celine resented him. She looked at the young man's friends. Most were just sleeping already, some in a chair, some in an armchair. Only a few were sitting on the couch and smiling. And I say you'll put up with anything I say. At this point, he stood up from the chair. The girl's eyes widened. The young man, who at Mom and Dad was a boy, hair sleek, voice thin, now turned into an unknown person. What? She wanted to say something, but didn't have time. The guy pushed her on the couch. He piled on top of her. Selena realized that the others could see it all now. Get off. She tried to get him off her. Why, Mom told you to do my every whim. Now this is my whim. He pulled up her dress. Selena started biting and kicking. Her friends grabbed her arms and Jacob slapped her hard across the face. The girl felt the taste of iron in her mouth, realized her lip was smashed. The bacchanalia continued until the morning. It was a nightmare for real. Selena no longer understood anything. They poured alcohol into her by force, did what they wanted. If you say anything about me being able to walk or what happened tonight, your daughter will be in trouble, he whispered in her ear. At that moment, Celine regretted telling him about it. When it finally started to get light, everyone started to disperse. The girl lay on the couch. She just couldn't move. She couldn't even cry. It hurt. What happened here? It was 2 hours later when Ivan and Emma came through the door. Look at her. She got a job in a rich house. She invited her friends right away. The man pointed his finger at Selena. What are you doing, you bastard? I trusted you, and how do you behave? The woman shouted at her. It's not me. Selena said she thought she was going to leave this house today. And who, Jacob, are you saying that my son, who can't walk and sits in a wheelchair, arranged all this? She looked around the room. The girl ducked her face into the couch. She didn't want to hear or see anything. What are you doing with her? Kick her out of here, Evan said. He opened his bar where there was expensive alcohol. Half of it was missing. What? You don't have enough. His wife came up to him. Her paycheck is definitely not enough. He closed the door. So you won't be here in an hour, the woman practically squealed. Oh, parents hide. Jacob rode up to them in his wheelchair. Jacob, are you okay? His mother came up to him. I'm fine. What's wrong? He was a mess. Where were you last night? Look what that... She nodded at Selena. I went to bed last night after dinner. You know I'm wearing earplugs, so I couldn't hear anything at all. He had an angelic voice. God, what if something had happened to you? The mother said fearfully. Selena heard the whole spectacle. She was disgusted. So you're still lying there. Get out of here. She walked over to the couch. Mommy, let's give her another chance, her son asked her. Okay, but only because you asked for it, she agreed. That's the thing. Also let Cindy go for the day. Maybe she would stop all this chaos, Emma reasoned. Selena wondered what she was in for. She got up off the couch and went to her room. There she took a shower and went back to bed. Every cell of her body seemed to ache. Now the girl realized that no help was needed for this man. But why is he like this? Why is he doing all this? Why are you lying here? We did not hire you for this. Burst into the room to her hostess. I don't feel well, Celine said. I see you drink all the elite alcohol, laughed nervously, that one. What do you need? She looked up. Go to Jacob, he's calling for you. Her mother pointed her finger at her son's door. She got out of bed and wandered over to the door. I see you're a good girl, you got it all figured out. She looked her in the eye. The bitch. She couldn't be here. What could you do with his life? He turned his back on her. I want to leave, Celine asked in a calm voice. Just try. I already know where you live. That your daughter Aurora is sitting with a neighbor right now. He glanced at her. You are. She moved closer to him. What are you going to do to an invalid? He folded his lips and made a gesture as if to kiss her. She went to her room. The table was set, but she couldn't even look at him tonight. Selena spent the rest of the evening in her room. She didn't sleep at night, and in the morning she heard the front door slam. At first, the girl thought it was Hope, but when she looked at her watch, she realized that she was leaving at that time. Then what was it? The door opened and Jacob walked in. What are you doing? Get out of here, she started to yell. He laughed at her. I don't know what you're doing. What do you want from me? She jumped up and grabbed her hair iron. Oh, how brave we are. He wanted to grab her, but he couldn't. I'll kill you if you touch me, she promised. And then you're my parents, he said lightly. Please go away, she wanted to make him feel better. You won't, he laughed so loudly that it was already making Selena scared. At one point, he managed to grab her arm, but the girl bit him, and she managed to run out of the room. The guy ran after her. You're going to regret this. He caught up with her, and even though she was hitting him, he was smiling in her face and looking at her with frantic eyes. Her parents were home by lunchtime the next day. Selena was back in her room. She prayed that they wouldn't go anywhere else. The girl mustered up the strength to go out to them when they called her in for breakfast. Jacob was already there, sitting there like a decent boy again, and she wanted to spit in his face. So how was it tonight? The mother looked at her son. Fine. He turned his eyes to Selena. Good, you can whenever you want. Emma looked at her too. I want to quit, the girl said out loud. What's wrong? The fact that I yelled. So do you deserve it? The woman wondered. No, I have a little daughter and she needs me, spoke practically the truth Selena. Nothing bad is going to happen to your daughter. Emma continued to eat. Please, what am I, a slave? She was looking at Evan now. You work off everything you messed up and go to all for it, he replied. Celine went to her room. There was nothing left to do but cry. She had to ask someone for help, but who? Calling her mom couldn't. She would freak out right away and anything could happen. Cecilia didn't want what she could. She would have to tell someone, and Selena didn't want that. She didn't have anyone else. There was Mickey, but she would only call him if she was dying. God help me. What to do? Selena realized her parents would be here for a day and then leave again. She had to make time. Emma had come to enroll then. She knew she might not make it, so she was looking for a friend to write off or ask. She met Billy. What if we celebrate our acquaintance? The guy said to her then. Come on, it's an exam tomorrow. Emma was afraid that neither he nor she would know anything. So what of it? He didn't understand. Well, she blurted out, unable to find an answer. Oh, Emma, come on. I'll introduce you to such a man, he called her. Jenka was a local, and it also caught the girl then. She thought that even if she didn't get in, maybe he'd catch on. She didn't want to leave the city. She'd lived with her grandmother in a remote village, and now she was getting out. Well, let's go. She didn't want to lose touch with her new acquaintance. They went to a restaurant or even a cafe. Emma didn't really know. There was a young man sitting at the table. Not a young man, but a young man. Evan high. Billy approached him then. Hi, why do I have to wait so long for you? He turned his attention to the girl. Meet Emma and don't swear any more, he winked at her. Nice to meet you. The man forgot all his complaints. They ordered. There was nothing on the table. Some dishes Emma just saw for the first time. Evan sat down to her, asking her everything. Where did such beauty come from? He put his hand on the back of her chair. You've never even heard the name. She was embarrassed. Let's have some champagne, the new beau suddenly suggested. Emma sat and looked at him. She thought that he was exactly the kind of man she needed. Now she would do anything to get him. Okay, she turned to Billy, who was bored. Guys, maybe I'll go. I can see you're having fun without me, the guy said. Jenechka, what are you doing? Emma didn't want him to go. What if he takes offense? And it doesn't work out and he leaves. Come on, Emma, let him go. He has an exam tomorrow, Evan told her. So do I. We're taking it together, she complained to the man. Why do you have to be silly? A woman should stay at home and keep the family home, he smiled. How? She blinked her big eyes. Very simply, he made a gesture with his hand for Billy to leave. Of course, Emma didn't see it. Only when the guy got up from his chair did the girl turn around. Bide, he sent her an air kiss. So Evan and Emma were left alone. They drank champagne. Every toast the man made was to her. The girl was flattered. She laughed and took everything at face value. And what do you do? Emma became bolder after a couple of glasses. I have my own small business. He was so proud of it that even his back straightened. Wow, she realized she hadn't met an ordinary man. Let's go to my place, he called her. I don't even know it felt awkward, but inside everything was cheering and shouting, Yes, I'll go with you, even to the end of the world. Ethan had an apartment downtown. They walked in, and he immediately took her by the shoulders, pressed her against the wall, and started kissing her. You're so passionate. She looked into his eyes. At that moment, the man was so tired of everything, he just wanted to rest. Then he remembered his old acquaintance, Billy, and asked him to introduce him to some young girl. He didn't want anything from her, just one night. Just one night, nothing more. And now, when she looked at him like that, he just disappeared, and realized he wouldn't let her go anywhere else. And what was so naive and simple, he realized he would raise this girl to be his own person. It was an unforgettable night. Emma told him in the morning. They lay in bed and cuddled. I can say the same. He kissed her shoulder. From that very moment, Ethan started living with Emma. He wouldn't let her study, go anywhere without him. Nothing, because he was afraid she'd be taken away. But she didn't want any of that. She groomed and loved her own man. I'm inviting you to a restaurant. He came home in the evening. Good. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I would have gotten ready. She went to her room. Not half an hour later, Emma was ready. The table was reserved. They had a really good time. And as they were about to leave, he hugged her. He'd never done that in public. I can't live another minute without you unless you become my wife. He almost shouted it. I agree. Emma had been waiting for this for a long time. When they were out home, the girl did not take her hands off him, kissing him and whispering words of love. You can choose the dress you want, the restaurant, and he smiled after these words, because he was only one in the city. I don't want a dress in a restaurant. I want to go on a cruise. She looked into Evan's eyes. Whatever you say, but buy the dress anyway. We'll get married there, he advised her. Emma didn't have anyone to help her choose a dress, so she took Billy with her. They went through all 2 stores and chose a more or less decent one. Thank you, she said to the young man as they sat at the cafe afterward. For what? For helping her choose a dress, he thought. For Vanechka, she didn't hide that she had real feelings. Yes, you're welcome, and I never had to find out why her boyfriend had really brought her back then. They went shopping some more today and needed to buy a lot of things, but unfortunately they couldn't find everything. But the girl was not upset. The main thing for her was to have her beloved near her, and no one and nothing else. Evan chose a date when he could take a vacation, and he and his wife already went on a cruise on a large liner. It's beautiful, she stood looking at the water. offered you, my love. He enjoyed doing nice things for her. He could see that she wasn't with him for all of this. As the man promised, one day he invited the neighbors and those they had managed to get to know and celebrated their wedding. At the registry office, they were already registered. Congratulations was heard from every corner. Thank you, I am the happiest man in the world, he said loudly. After a fabulous time, the family returned home. The man immediately went about his business, for he had been away for a long time. Emma was doing everything around the house. She already knew she was pregnant, but she didn't want to tell him, so as not to jinx it. Her husband's birthday was coming up in a couple of weeks, and she was going to tell about it. Emma prepared for this day very carefully. She prepared a present for her beloved and packed it. Emma also put a pacifier in the box so that Evan could guess everything himself. So, tomorrow at home or in a restaurant? He asked her on the eve of his birthday. Of course, at the restaurant, she wanted it to be a day they would remember for a long time. And so, the next day in the evening, when they were sitting at the table and Emma was congratulating him, she took out a box. Beloved, congratulations. She kissed it and handed it to him. What? It didn't mean anything. He was pleased. Look, she saw him put the box away on a nearby chair. Let's go home. Don't want to be distracted right now. You didn't want to look now. Please, she put her hands together. All right, if you insist. He took the small gift, untied the ribbon, opened it. The first thing he saw was a pacifier. What? She smiled as he looked at it. What is it? Evan didn't get the hint. Beloved, you're going to be a daddy soon. She walked up to him. Is it true? At that moment, the man wanted to jump to the ceiling. Of course, she rejoiced with him. From that moment on, it began. Emma didn't know about it, but it turns out that Evan had already started building the house a long time ago. There was not much left, so he kept quiet. He wanted to surprise her. And now he realized that he had to speed up, so that his wife and son would arrive in their new home. Where are we going? Emma was surprised when he put her in the car and drove her out of town. You'll see everything now. It was a mystery, but now it was not up to them. They were pulling up to a high fence. The husband helped his wife out of the car, opened the gate, they entered. What is this? She looked at the huge house. It's all ours. He held his hand around it. You're such a good boy. She didn't know what to do, whether to keep looking or to hug him right there. Come on, they went inside. How wonderful it was. She looked at every nook and cranny. I promise this place will be ready for your discharge. He drew her to him. And then they drove home happy. The labor went easily. There were no complications. The father was so happy he was ready to hug everyone he saw. He had a son, whom they named Jacob. As Evan had promised, he had everything finished up to the point where his wife and son were being discharged. The discharge was loud, flowers, balloons. Emma was happy. She realized that fate had given her a great husband. How did you manage? He took her to her new home. For you, I'm ready for any exploits. They went upstairs to the nursery. God, it's beautiful, Emma cried. She had become very sentimental lately. You haven't seen our bedroom yet. He took the baby in his arms, rocked her, and put her in the crib. Evan decided that in order not to burden his wife too much, they should hire a nanny. So they did, and an assistant was hired for Emma. She felt like a queen now, but she didn't get cocky. Let's stop by the store, she pointed to the window with toys. Of course, the young father himself was not against it. They just swamped their child with various toys. He had everything a child of a year and a half could dream of. When Jacob turned 3, his parents decided that they would give him to kindergarten. But not the ordinary kindergarten that all the kids went to, but the one right here in their village. It was considered an elite kindergarten with only 5 students. I remember how upset my mother was. When she gave me to the garden, she thought that I would not be taken care of or fed. But here, I didn't even have to worry. She and her husband were sitting at lunch. It's all for you, Evan kept saying. Thank you. She was ready to thank him all the time. When the boy grew up, he was sent to an elite school. By now, the boy realized that his parents could do a lot of things. Whatever he asked for, he immediately got. He began to take advantage of it. When Jacob was in middle school, he could afford a lot of things. There were regular kids in the same school with him whose parents took out loans to get them here. Jacob had no problem insulting these boys and girls in various ways. The number of times he'd been in the principal's office couldn't be counted. His parents at home also threatened him with a finger, but the boy understood that they could not do more. He was the favorite. "Dad, give me money, my friends, and I want to go to the movies," he asked of them when he was already in high school. Of course, he didn't spare anything. "Guys, let's go out." He showed his friends the bills. Evan and Emma got a few calls from the police that their son was in custody. They went to help. They were ashamed, but there was nothing they could do about it. "Why are you like this?" his father asked him. "I'm bored," the young man honestly said. After school, instead of going somewhere to study, the guy started coming home intoxicated and taking different girls. His parents tolerated it until he was caught with drugs. The father rescued his son again, but realized he couldn't go on like this. "That's it, you won't get another penny," he told him at home. Evan realized that this was the only way to punish his son. "Dad, what are you doing?" He looked again with a look that the man couldn't stand. "Nothing. We're sending you to a clinic abroad," and then decided today when the test showed that his son's blood had banned substances. "I'm not going anywhere." He jumped out of his chair. "I said you were." He shoved him in the shoulder to get him to sit back down. It was the first time a father had ever spoken that way to his son. Emma watched from the second floor. She felt sorry for him. But the woman didn't interfere, realizing she could only make things worse. Okay, Aldo got up and went to his room, the young man. He realized that without his father's money, he could not do anything, so he obeyed. Emma started packing, and his father made arrangements with the clinic and bought tickets. In a few days, Jacob was in a warm country, where he was placed in one of the rooms. Every day a young man came to monitor him and give him different medications. "Why are you here?" They got to talking. "My father sent me away." Jacob didn't want to talk. "Why?" He was asking questions again. "I don't know." Jacob thought the medic had been told to get him talking. "Let's get to know each other." He pushed him. Jacob got up from the bed grudgingly. "I'm Barry." They shook hands. "Are you going to give up now?" Jacob looked at him. "I can see you're not happy about this. Tell me." The new acquaintance asked. "I don't want to be here." There was no subtext to those words. "Why don't we go to the cafe?" Barry suggested it. "How can we go there? It's all under lock and key." He pointed to the bars that were on the windows. "It's my father's clinic. I'll make some arrangements," the boy told him. Wow, Jacob was surprised that he worked here himself, and he felt differently about the boy after that. "I have a small clinic that deals with traumas, but not superficially, but deeply. It's more expensive," he told him as they walked out. "Why aren't you there?" Jacob couldn't understand. "It's just my investment. I don't work there." They had already reached the local cafe, which was right outdoors. "It's nice." Jacob breathed deeply. Yes, his new friend agreed. They'd ordered a few things. They talked about everything for a long time, and it got to the point where they talked about fathers. "I was sent here because it was my own fault," the boy said resentfully. "Yes, first they spoil you, can't let you do anything, and then they start demanding things." Barry agreed with him. "I wish I could think of something so that they would give money and demand nothing in return," Jacob said. "Yes, in your case there is an option." The other man looked at him. "Don't we get it?" The other man wondered. "Look, if you can take it, you'll go hide," Barry said again, speaking in riddles. "Stop beating around the bush and tell me," Jacob insisted. "Anyway, look, I told you before, I'm in rehab, and today it's like we ran away. You're about to get hit by a car or something. I'm going to take you back to my place, and then tomorrow I'm going to tell my dad, and then they can't do anything about it. And then I'll fake the results, that's it. You have a damaged spine, you're in rehab. You need a lot of money," he said. You made it sound like you've been hatching this plan for a long time, Jacob grinned. Yeah, but if it can work on you, it can't work on me. Barry shook his head. They played it that way, the young man bringing Barry to the clinic himself. I'll do the anesthesia myself, he told the girl who ran up to help him. He made the whole thing so that the others believed that I was really sick. When supposedly all the procedures were done, Barry took him to a friend's clinic for surgery. But really home. And what if this is all going to really work? Jacob didn't believe it. Of course, the young man told his father what had happened, and now Jacob was at the clinic on his recommendation, withdrawing from the operation. His staff had asked him to make all the necessary statements. The data was in the computer. He was ready to call his parents and ask for money. Your brain, Jacob wondered, how could you think of such a thing? When the money came, they went on vacation together. What did you tell your father? Jacob knew his friend would lie about something. I took a vacation because I couldn't get away from that terrible accident that happened right in front of my eyes, he said, making a sad face, his head down, and shaking his head at Barry. Why, you're an actor too, laughed the friend. They had a couple months of unforgettable vacations, and then they needed money again to get the guy home. How many times the event wanted to fly to get his son, but the doctors said it wasn't safe. They'd do it themselves. So they lied to the parents. Will you come to me? Jacob asked when Barry saw him off at the airport. No, he shook his head, no smile on his face. Why not? The one who was leaving didn't understand. Because every 6 months you'd have expensive rehabilitation here. I'll send the paperwork to your parents myself. They shook hands and Jacob left. His father and mother met him at the airport. He was being driven by a special man Jacob had paid. Jacob, how could it be? His mother sat down in front of him. Mom, it's okay, the boy said in a quiet voice. Ivan walked around the stroller, took hold of the handles, then rolled it to the car. Ever since he found out about what had happened to his son, he had only himself to blame. After all, the boy didn't want to go, he had said to him, almost by force. The family got into the car, the chair was stowed in the trunk. They drove home in silence. That's when it started, and it's been going on ever since. As long as there was someone at home, Jacob was unstoppable. But as soon as his parents were away, he'd get a whole crowd together to celebrate. You need to pack, Emma said the same words every 6 months. She got her son a suitcase. The money was transferred to the doctor's account. And then it was back to a few weeks of partying with Barry. Son, do you want me to find the best doctors? They'll put you back on your feet. His father asked him constantly. Dad, I'm doing it on my own, and you know what they do to me abroad, he said. Yes, but there are no results. My father was downhearted. Emma at first only cried. She felt so sorry for her son that she could not put it into words. Then she got used to it. When the work increased, Evan decided that it was necessary to sleep in the city apartment sometimes, and then the idea came to hire a nurse for his son. So they did. At first, there was a woman of age, but the guy asked for a young woman. With this one, he was not interested. A whole year, they couldn't find anyone, and then Selena came to them. And what, on the first day, the young one did something that no one could even think of. And the girl at that moment was thinking of her plan where to call her. Once she had the idea that she could go to the police, they would do everything, and then the parents would find out what their son was really doing. But on the other hand, Jacob had money. He would make it look like it was all her fault. As she thought about it, it hit her. God, I wish I hadn't deleted him. She opened her phone's contact list. She reached the letter O and exhaled. John's number was there. Hello, she heard a stern male voice in the receiver. John, I'm sorry to just call you like this, but I need your help, Selena said quickly. What's wrong? Did someone die again? He remembered the last time she'd spoken to him. Yes, and it could be me if you don't help me. She looked at the door to Jacob's room to make sure he didn't get out. Tell me, he waited. I can't talk on the phone. Let me write everything in a message, and you'll think of something, she pleaded. Okay, I'm waiting. He disconnected. The girl opened the tab of messages, opened them, and began to write the text. She tried to describe everything in detail so the man wouldn't think she was crazy. Then she wrote to her neighbor, told her that if she could, let her take Aurora to her grandmother in the village. She tried to call her, but Selena kept picking up. "What are you doing sitting there?" Jacob startled her, even though he was in a wheelchair. He appeared suddenly. "Nothing, just waiting for you to call me," she lied. "Did you like it?" he grinned. "Fuck you." She turned away from him. Her parents were home today and she wasn't as scared. "Get me a coffee," he said, and went to his place. Now she knew Emma could be watching her. Selena went to make coffee. She got everything done. Went to the door, knocked. "Come in." She heard a guy's voice. "Okay," said the girl. She opened the door, but didn't close it behind her. She put the cup in its usual place and left. Today was quiet, but how disgusted she was when she saw the guy interacting with his parents, as if he was such an angel. And they looked in the mouth and believed every word. "Son, when's your next rehab?" Mom asked. "I don't know, in 2 months. The doctor should call you," he answered. "Do you try to practice?" Selena asked him, even though she was scared. "Of course, we have all the equipment Jacob needs in the basement." Emma answered for him. "The basement? How do you get down there?" Selena mocked, even though she knew it wasn't safe. "Why would he want you?" The woman stopped eating. "Mom, it's okay." Jacob put his hand on her shoulder. "No, wait. Are you telling me that in 5 days you haven't gone downstairs and practiced once?" She was addressing the nurse. "No, Jacob didn't ask, and I didn't know that you hadn't told me about it," she reminded Emma. "I see, so it's my fault, but why are you being lazy?" She changed her tone and turned to her son. "Mom, let's not do it now. Let me eat in peace." The boy looked at Selena so much that she got goosebumps on her back. They finished their meal. Selena took the dishes to the kitchen and then wanted to go to her room. "Selena, let's go study." The young man called out to her. "What?" "It was scary. There's no one in the basement." "What are you, son? It's late. Why should you overwork yourself?" the girl exhaled. Emma herself did not know what she had just done. Selena came to her room. She saw the screen lit up with a notification that she had a message. John had texted her that he had arrived. He had thought of everything, and she would be home as early as tomorrow. Well, thank God, she crossed herself. Now the worst part was that even Emma had to leave in the morning, and Selena knew that Jacob would still be asleep at that time, so she decided to take advantage of the moment and go into the garden. She did just that. She only heard footsteps on the stairs. She got up and waited for them to come out the door. When they did, she went out too and hid. "Selena, where are you?" She heard Jacob looking for her in the house, but she didn't answer. She didn't know when John would put his plan into action, but she hoped it would be very soon. "I'll find you, or you'll be sorry." He tossed the chair aside and began to prowl around the house like a bloodhound. "What do you want?" She entered the house. The girl decided to come out of hiding because she had an idea in her head. They wanted to prove to Emma and Evan that their son had been lying for a long time, and he could get into the stroller at any time because he carried it everywhere suddenly. "What?" "Oh, do you dare I ask?" He went at her. She moved toward Jacob's room, but didn't go in, sitting on the couch. He came over to her and stood over her. "You'll be running soon, too," she cried, remembering everything you'd done to her in the last few days. "What are you talking about? You're my hostage, and you won't say anything to anyone." He stood and shouted at Selena. "You're a coward and a freeloader." She was pissing him off on purpose. "That's it. You asked for it. Why are you doing this?" He swung at her. "What's that supposed to mean?" He heard his father's voice. "Dad." John was a long way from where she was when the girl's call came, but he knew she needed help. The man remembered her eyes, the way she had looked at him then, when he arrived at his grandmother's house. He realized he had an obligation to help the girl. When he read what she had written to him, his fists began to clench. "I'll help you." He went to where he had been living for the past 3 months, sat down on his bed, and began to think. When he had a plan lined up in his head, he excused himself from his boss and drove back to the town where his grandmother lived. The time was late, so he spent the night in the apartment, and in the morning he began to realize what he had recently thought up. "Hello, I need Emma," he said to the woman when the door was opened for him. "It's me." She was startled to see a man in a military uniform and a policeman next to him. "Can we come in?" John asked her. Since morning he had called his friend, with whom they had studied together in Suvorovsky. He was now working in the authorities. The latter had promised to help, and now they were here. "What happened?" The woman let them into the corridor. "And where is your husband?" The policeman answered her with a question for a question. At work, Emma still seemed to be in shock. "Tell me what's wrong with him." She was getting hysterical. "Ivan is fine, but we need you two together," the guest spoke in riddles. "Okay, let's go to his place." She took her bag and they went outside. A short time later, the three men were already walking into the office where Ivan was in charge. "We're Rudy Evans," Emma said quickly. But the one jumped up but didn't have time to say anything. When they entered the office, there were about 10 people there. "Emma, what is this parade of military uniforms?" said Evan sternly. "Please, honey." "Something's wrong. They're here to talk," she begged him. "Can't this wait?" He looked at his colleagues. No, John realized Selena was alone in the house right now. "Everyone dismissed. There's another meeting tomorrow. Get ready," he told the men who were now getting up and dispersing. When the door closed behind the last one, the men and the woman sat down at the table. At first, they looked at each other. Ivan was the first to break the silence. "We are listening to you. What did you want to tell us?" he said. "Here," John handed the man his phone. "What? It can't be. This girl is just talking about our son, because she owes us a lot." He jumped up when he read what Selena had written in the message. What was in it? Emma wondered. Then put his hand forward John. "Can you come with us now?" the policeman asked. "On what grounds?" Ivan couldn't understand. "If you don't want to do it nicely, we can call a squad and go there. But if it turns out that the girl has beatings or something else, your son will be in trouble and no amount of money will help." The police officer was unperturbed. "What's going on here?" Emma jumped to her feet. She could only hear fragments of phrases. She couldn't make up a complete picture in her head. "Emma, calm down. Everything will be fine. They're talking." Evan looked at her. He walked over to the window, looking down. He didn't know what to do. If he went along with these nitwits, and it turned out not to be true, then he would be a laughing stock. What if they were telling the truth? Then he wouldn't be able to forgive Jacob for pretending for so long. "Okay, let's go." He took a quick step toward the door. Outside, everyone got into the car again and drove off. They were silent on the way, each of them thinking about what was going to happen next. When they stopped at the gate and got out, Emma was ready to faint. Why they had come to their house, what had happened here. She was in the dark. Evan yanked the door open and staggered to the door. Jacob was standing by the couch where the girl was sitting, shouting at her. "What's that supposed to mean?" he shouted. "Dad." Jacob began to look for the chair with his eyes, though in his head he already realized that he had understood everything. "Jacob." His mother ran inside the house. "Get away from her." The son pushed her away. "What are you doing?" She collapsed on the couch next to Selena. "Well, now do you believe me?" The girl looked at John. "Come here. You have nothing to be afraid of anymore." He held out his hand to Selena. "Let's get out of here. Let them deal with it here." She had her bag outside. "Stop," Ian shouted to me. "What am I supposed to tell you? You saw for yourself that morning what your son does when you're not home." Selena turned to him. "At least take this week's pay." He started to pull out the money. "I don't need your handouts," she said, and they went outside with John and his friend. They had to call a cab, and while they waited for it at the gate, everyone was silent. "How did you do that?" John asked her. "I'm sorry." She looked up at him and cried. Only now she really realized what hell she'd been in. "It's okay." He pulled her close to him. "Answer me. Why did you have to do all this?" I heard a man shouting from the house. Dad, you won't believe it, I'm cured. The son tried to justify himself. What are you telling me? I'll check your doctor. He'll be in trouble too. Evan was furious. Emma was still sitting there on the couch, crying. She had never imagined that things could turn out like this. I hate you, Jacob shouted. And that's for all that we've done for you. You should be grateful that you've never sat down once. How many priors you've had, the man grimaced and clutched at his heart. My love, what's wrong with you? His wife ran up to him at once. An ambulance, he whispered to her only with his lips. Emma ran for the phone, and Jacob stood watching his father slump to the floor, not even bothering to drag him to the couch. Sneak even was already sitting on the floor. Yeah, I'm a creep, who are you? He ran outside. Darling, they'll be here in a minute. The wife put a pillow under her husband's back. She sat and kissed him. She saw that her son was gone, but now she didn't care. The doctors came quickly. They hospitalized the man with a heart attack. Emma went with them to the hospital. She had faith that everything would be okay. Ivan was silent. Hate, hate, hate. Tita walked across the yard and waved his arms. He saw that there was no one driving the car, got in, and drove off. The guy drove into town, went into one of the bars. He wanted a drink. Not at home, where he did it almost every day. And here, with people, he had money. Hey kid, are you okay? Someone asked him because he was in a homemade suit. Come here, Jacob's insides were churning, and he wanted to punch someone. What? A man came over. Will you have a drink with me? He asked him. Sure, the man was happy to have a free drink. He ordered and served everyone at his own expense, sat there until he almost fell off the bar stool. Oh, it's time for you to go home, one of his new friends said. They helped him up and led him to the exit. There's my car, Jacob showed them. What car? Let's call you a cab, they suggested. I said get in the car, the boy commanded. All right, we don't care, so they drove him out and put him behind the wheel. Do you think we can keep him? One man asked the other. He's in such a state that he's going to fall asleep. They walked back to the bar, but the car started and moved off. What a misunderstanding, one of the men shook his head. Jacob drove home to tell his parents everything, but at some point he couldn't control the car, and it began to drag on the road, left, right, left again, bump, darkness. The young man woke up in the hospital. He was lying, looking at the ceiling. His head was noisy, his mouth was dry. He tried to call someone, but he couldn't. Then he wanted to get up, but he couldn't do it. He lay there and waited. A nurse came into the room, saw that the boy was conscious, ran out into the hallway and called the doctor. Drink, Jacob mumbled when she returned. Now she moistened his lips. More, he asked. No more for now, she was stern. A man in a robe came in. You're lucky I know your father, he began without prelude or greeting. What's wrong with me? The boy whispered with just his lips. The doctor knew the situation in this family. Evan had asked him about it many times, consulted him. But when they brought him in now and he saw everything with his own eyes, he felt sorry for the liar's parents. What? You'll never get back on your feet again, unless a miracle happens, the medic told him. Jacob lay on his back, tears streaming from his eyes, realizing that he had a lot to blame himself for, and now he had caught the boomerang. Emma was in the same hospital, but in a different ward. She saw a man in a bathrobe rushing toward her, thought something had happened to Evan, and jumped up. When he told her about Jacob, she passed out. Selena and John drove to the house where she lived. Can I come over to your place? He asked her. Okay, they said goodbye to his friend. When they went up to the floor, John asked her to tell him in detail what happened, how she got to this house. You see, I really needed money, so I grabbed everything I could. She began to tell him. Was my grandmother the same way? He asked. Selena remembered Julia, and tears came to her eyes. Yes, and then, after her, she couldn't say the word, I was sent here. I even left my daughter with a neighbor. I agreed. I got a job with a young invalid. I can't even think that it's only been a week. And at first he pretended to be so kind. That's it. John hugged her because Celine was crying. If it hadn't been for you, I don't know how this would have ended. She hugged him. It did end, though. He didn't let her out of his arms. Yes, she looked up at him from below. Do you still need me? He asked, hoping to hear yes. Can you come with me to the village to pick up my daughter? Selena didn't want to go anywhere or drive right now. Gladly, John took her bag and they left the house again. The man realized it had to be done right now. As they rode in the car, the whole time she wouldn't let go of him, like a little girl who had been scared really badly by someone. Aurora, she walked into her mother's house. Mommy's here. She ran to meet her. What's wrong? Ariana came out and saw John. Hello, he nodded, embarrassed in front of the woman. Good afternoon. She was taken aback because she didn't expect it. Mommy, meet John. He saved me from the dragon's castle, and now I have to marry him, she smiled. What about you? Are you a princess? Asked Aurora. Of course, she walked over to John and led him into the kitchen to the table, for he himself seemed petrified. And what are you going to do now? The woman asked. Do you have time? The girl turned to the man. A week, he said, as if awake. That's good. Can we live this time here? Asked the daughter to her mother. Of course, she was very happy about it. Then it was settled. Selena had a plan already matured in her head. The next day, John, Aurora, and Selena went for a walk. She led them to her secret place. I probably won't surprise you with this, but I'll show you anyway, she told the man as they approached the hangar. It was so funny today, Ariana gave him her husband's pants and sweater. But Daddy was a little shorter in height, so the pants and sleeves were severely short, but that didn't bother John, much less Selena. The girl bent the metal away, as she always did, John stepping in first, then Aurora. Wow, that was the reaction of everyone who'd ever come in here. This is my father's airplane. He worked on it, the girl began to say. Can I go up there? Aurora shouted, even though she was still very young. John put the girl on his shoulders. She saw everything and hooted. Say, and about the fact that you now have to marry me, is this a joke? He said to her and came close. That's for you to decide, she averted her eyes. I get it. He nodded, but will you agree to be a military wife? You've proven you're not what I thought you were when we first met. Celine pressed herself against him again. She liked this strong and reliable man so much. She had only asked for help, and he, unbeknownst to her, had immediately rushed to help out. They spent the whole evening here. The girl took with her a basket of food. They even managed to make a small picnic. When they were on their way back, Selena saw Mickey walking towards them. She didn't want to meet him so badly. Oh wow, saw he was fun, girl. Walk on by, she asked him. Who's that scarecrow? He pointed at John. This is my husband, she said gravely to the man she had once loved so much. And my daddy? Aurora looked up at him. Oh, you scared me. Mickey made big eyes and walked unevenly away. They were about to go home when one of their mother's friends came running in. I made it. She wiped the sweat from her forehead. Selena, not in service, but in friendship, passed the package to the hospital. Sure, the girl took the package from her. Thank you, it's all written there, she pointed to a piece of paper. I'll take care of it. They said goodbye to her mom and went to the station. At least invite me to the wedding, she shouted after them. And we'll have it here. The future son-in-law turned to her. Are you sure? The one who was walking next to him asked him. You know, you may think I'm crazy, but I think Julia brought us together. She was so anxious for you to see me off. She sent you to rescue me now, and she took John's hand in hers. I always knew my grandmother loved me, he smiled. When they arrived, Selena and John agreed that he would go to his place now and ask for a vacation. In the meantime, she would quit her job everywhere, pack her things, and go to the village to her mother. The young people said goodbye. The girl had one more thing to do. She had to go to the hospital and hand over a parcel. Hello, she came to the reception desk. Go down the hall, the girl started to explain to her, But Selena couldn't hear her anymore. Jacob was rolling down the hall in his wheelchair. She couldn't believe her eyes, but it was really him. "Are you doing it again?" She walked over to him. There was nothing to be afraid of. "Celine, forgive me." He thought this way. He could earn grace himself. Never, she turned her back on him. Yes, it was wrong, but what he was doing to her she would never forget. She asked the same question again to the girl behind the counter. She told her everything. It turns out she came to the wrong building. She had to go through the corridor. "Thank you." She went where she was told. She couldn't believe her eyes now. She saw Emma in a chair rolling even. They just walked past each other. They didn't even look at each other. But Selena didn't need to. The girl did as she was asked and drove home. And as she said goodbye to her neighbor, gave her the keys to the apartment, and she and Aurora headed back to the station. Her mother was glad to have her daughter by her side again. Soon John arrived. His vacation had been approved, and now he was chopping wood in the yard. "My God, everything will be all right now. Mother wanted it so much." "Don't worry, it will be." Her daughter hugged her. Everything was ready for the wedding. It was only necessary to invite guests and prepare food. But that wasn't a problem. Bitter, 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 bitter. The tables were bursting with various pies and salads. Everyone was happy for Selena, and her most of all. "Take care of her until I get there." John was leaving after a month and a half. Of course not, Ariana rejoiced. What a good husband her daughter had gotten. "Daddy, when are you coming?" Aurora came up to him. Very soon he hugged the little girl. Before that, he and Selena had agreed that she would try what it was like to be a military wife. And if she didn't like it, he'd just file for discharge. "I love you," Selena whispered for the first time, the family standing at the station. "And I adore you." He took his girls in his arms and spun them around. After seeing her husband and father off, they went home. Selena asked John never to remember the hellish week through which they had met.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.